Hello, you watch But Her Developer channel. Here I am developing a large web project for music bands. And today I'm going to talk a little about authorization in Laravel project. The video is a bit messy. There will be a lot of code here that is not related to the main topic. Therefore, I will start with the main idea and then will be a quick demonstration of code with tips. The main idea I want to convey to you is that you don't need JSON web tokens. You probably don't need it. Here I will tell a little about my personal experience. As soon as single-page applications become popular, the issue of authorization in them has become relevant. And then JWT tokens become incredibly popular. Almost all of my API project used JSON Web Token authorization. And this is true not only for Ukraine. We don't have many local projects. Most of projects with JWT tokens came from English-speaking countries. And probably everything would continue like that. But one day the developer of mine open source JSON Web Token project for Laravel did not stop support it. And the community began to think whether we really need JWT tokens. And usually the answer was no. The idea of JWT tokens was to transfer information. We get some information for user, for example. We send the token to the client, web application or mobile or desktop, no matter. Client use this data and send token back to initial service or another service where contains write private key, and the service can say yes, this data is true. And here we got a problem. What if you want to change the data, allow or deny some access? And JSON Web Tokens provide a solution. Just change the token very often, every 5 minutes, for example. And here the worst began. A cool optimized solution required every 5 minutes to send request to the database and get access control list or roles, no matter what. And that's why one of the top questions on the Stack Overflow was how to make a token's lifetime 1 year or more. Developers simply stopped using JWT token as way to sharing information. Use simply as an authorization token. And of course the developers read that JWT token is insecure without a refresh token. Therefore, of course, the refresh token was also implemented and it was incredibly difficult to manage. You may have witnessed a situation when someone lost their mobile phone and the new owner of the phone could sit at the messenger from this mobile phone forever. All you could do was write to the developers and they would manually find out what token should be blacklisted from the logs, of course. Fortunately, this situation did not last long, about 2 years. Of course, I can't provide it, but I'm sure that for years Viber could not make a button Logout from all because of wrong JWT token used. But of course, JWT token are good technology and it is perfect to use where access must be granted for one session. For example, a bank client. But if you are doing an ordinary project, I recommend you to use a simple token authorization. Laravel has a ready-made package for this, Laravel Sanctum. The algorithm is very simple. A token is created in the database for each session. The client stores this token and sends with each request. And for each request, server get access, check roles, and etc. And when we remove token from database, client cannot use this token for authorization and should relogin. If we remove all user tokens, it is a logout from all button. And of course, we can set lifetime to the token. And here is my request. If you have a lifetime of more than 1 hour, mandatory create functionality of logout from device or logout from all. This will enable your users to keep their data safe without your or your support help. And of course, we can create immortal token. In my case, I will create immortal tokens for regular users. Of course, for specific users, I will create two-factor authorization, but I will not ask ordinary users to log in every day, week, or month. It is not useful. But before writing the code, I will say Russia is a terrorist country. Russia is a shitty country. They want the whole world to live like them in the shit. Let's stop them. Please write a letter to your political parties with a request to support Ukraine. It is really helps to leave the shit where it come from. Thank you. So, according to the code, first I created a module called auth and move the user model there. It is important to check or change manually pass to user model in config auth.php file. And when I move it, I was noticed that traits are writing in one line. It is not okay, so added a new rule to PHP Insigths. Single trait insert per statement fixer. I know a lot of people don't understand why this is important. It is the same case with break lines, ident, commas at the end of arrays, and etc. All this needed for a review. It is very useful when reviewer see a small line with changes, not a big list where it is not clear what has changed, and the reviewer should think about it. Next, what I'm strongly recommended to do is create eloquent mutator and mutate all user emails to lowercase. It is very simple and will help you very much. Of course, you can make validation rules and etc, but when user press a login from Facebook, you will get a new user because 20 years ago on Facebook user enter camel case email. The user will be confused and you have a problem with statistic. Also, I see a new cast from Laravel, hash for password. It is mandatory. If you don't have it, please add. It is very important. And as I say, user in API call will load every time. So I'm going to remove validation email and etc unused fields, and if I need it, I will replace it to one-to-one relation. Email validation used once, but loaded and generated every time, millions time for all users. Also, I remove remember token because I have infinity session, and of course move the user fabric module. And next step I can do, but you cannot. I roll back migration, move to the module and edit them. I can do this because I work solo and I have not any server now. I don't know where to highlight it, so I say it here. 3 quick rules for migrations. First one, no one has the right to edit up migration after publication. Create a new migration if you need, because all your team members have already up the migration, and also server of course up it. Published migration are read only. Next one, migration should not depend on anything. All line in migration should be hard coded. Changing the code anywhere should not break or change the migration. And the last one, you decide with team, do you want to write down method inside migration or not. I recommend to write it, but no matter. You should know that no all migration can be rolled back. For example, after adding characters to the string, you cannot roll back because you got some error or you lose your data. And next, one problem with migrate to Laravel 11. I cannot find information, but in 10 version, migration table should be simple string in config file. But now it is array with table property. So I rewrite it, and if I want to isolate migrations before publish inside module, now package command migrate not work. All other commands work, but not module migrate. Module migrate use Laravel migration loader, but should use module specific. Of course, I can rewrite a command, but it is much more easy to load migration for a specific command. So I add a simple condition app running console command and command module migrate. And now I can run migration command for module and migrate rollback for module or work. Next, I'm going to create seeder. It is required. By the way, correct seeders can be preceded as a separated layer of documentation, but only good seeders. In my case, I'm going to create only 10 users, that's all. And next, very simple action. Login user. As parameter got login request, simply auth attempt request only email and password. It should be array. If login false, throw new exception. Otherwise, get user and create plain text token. One recommendation about login request. Please do not validate password and email. I talking about complex password validation and email for email. In the future, you can change password complexity rules, and all old user will have a problem with login because they was created a password with old rules. The same with email. Maybe not email, but nickname you want to use. Next action, get current user info. It is required method. We don't login every time. In perfect world, we login just once, and using this method, we got all user data when we need it. When we go to the web page, in usually case. Very simple, get user and return a resource. Very useful, use mixin and model name for a resource class. I will return only slug and name. And here one advice, only one. Please do not return email here. User email is a sensitive data and it is not good to send it over and over to client. And I can test open postman, make login with some of generated user, get token, all okay, and use token inside header, authorization, bearer and token name. It is standard. And I got user information, name and slug. And please have a look to token. You can see that token contain ID of access token record and pipe with a real token. It is not okay to show ID. I was talking about it in a previous video, but ours can work without ID. So I simply remove it on login action and recommend you to do the same. Of course, I will wrap a login result to JSON resource. And here's the rules. Wrap all JSON answer to JSON resource or JSON resource collection, of course. It is very useful. It is make code smaller. Make sure that you don't return anything extra. For for example, some pivot data from relationship, will help you to bring the API to the standard. And believe me, you will happy to use a request parameter inside resource when you want to change the API answer for specific needs. And if you look to the answer, you can see that all data wrapped into data object. I will talk about JSON format in the next video, but for now I didn't like data wrapper. It just add more work for front-ender and for writing tests. For now I recommend you to turn off data wrapper for all project. Go to app service provider, boot, and call JSON resource without wrapping method. And all good, now we have clear JSON without data object. Tried to commit all this and I got an error. A request inside a resource is unused variable. PHP Insigths error. I strongly don't recommend turning off the check, but Insigths don't allow us to exclude files by a regular expression, for example. So I write a simple service that scan model directory and get files inside specific module subdirectory. And I add all transforms directory files inside model to exclude of unused variable check. That's all. You can see the code of service by the link in description. So go next. If you have a look into personal access token table, you can see that table use polymorphic relationship to the user. I will talk about polymorphic relationship in some of the next video, but now I have to do one thing and tell you one rule. We cannot use a class name as polymorphic type. It is very simple to understand. If we rewrite file name, all polymorphic relationship will be broken. So it is very important to use enforce mop map function and add alias to all your entities from scratch. I will run this function inside model service provider. Don't be afraid, use it many times in different service provider, it's all okay. So I set user as alias to user class, create a new token, and all good. Now we have user string, not namespace. And the last useful things for today. Of course, I cover all by code inside tests. And here you can see the example of test. Can a user login with case sensitive email or not? And of course, test fail, because inside database we have lowercased email and Sanctum write a query with strongly equal condition. And of course, we can make validation inside front end, make interface more unuseful, but I recommend you to look at the Laravel request Sanitizer package. It is very simple package for Laravel FormRequest, allow us to write some before validation logic and reuse it in all project. Also contains some predefined sanitizers. Lowercase is one of them. So inside FormRequest, simple trait use sanitizer inputs and protected array sanitizers with field name email and sanitizer lowercase class. That's all. Rerun the test and all good. And I know in the future I'm going to write my own sanitizer for many useful things. And the last action for today, logout. Simply remove token. But tokens, it is our sessions, user sessions. In the future I'm going to add some additional data about browser, IP, and etc. So I recommend not deleting them immediately. Use soft deletes. In a case when some attacker, some bad guy know your password and login, email, and etc. do some bad stuffs and press logout. From soft deleting action we can get useful information about attackers or about some bad guy. Laravel Sanctum allow us to use our own personal access token model. They only should extend from Sanctum personal access token, and it is required to run Sanctum use personal access token model method in some service provider. I use auth service provider. Also I add use soft deletes to model and of course deleted add to migration. So I make login, logout, and yeah, all good. Soft deleting work fine. And the last one, when you write tests, you can login as some user using acting as function. But Sanctum say, okay man, use my acting as function. And it is very bad solution as for me. I don't wanna rewrite all tests when I'm going to switch Sanctum to another solution. So I simply rewrite acting as action. Inside it I create new token and set Laravel app auth guard to Sanctum. That's all. Now all Sanctum authorization should work fine. And we can switch to another solution just rewriting one method. And the last bonus, sorry, I do not recommend you to do this, but it is my caprice. As I say, all IP call get from database user and personal access token. So I remove all unused fields from personal access token. Name, accessibility, and updated at. Updated at with always equal to last used at. I often use timestamp but without updated at. So I replace this logic to separated trait, but inside model we should set timestamps to false manually every time. Traits will conflict with model. And I know this is over optimization, but these requests run over and over. On one user session it could be thousands of query. And no, it is bad idea to set it to the cache. It is important to check real-time actual user data. So I try to minify all what I can, but I do not recommend it to you. And finally, that's all. As you can see, the mutation tests say that I do not cover some cases. I did it on purpose. In the next video I will explain why. So this video was dirty, but I really recommend you to look at the next video. And thank you for support Ukraine. Goodbye.